Hello friends, this is Alejandro with the Insightful Presence. We're here today. I have a friend that we want to interview in this session that is created by the Insightful Presence. It's called Insight Talks. In Insight Talks, we will be talking to different artists in different topics such as art, music, motivation, mindfulness, and other topics too. So right now this is our first episode, so thank you for tuning in. I do have the privilege on interviewing a friend. He just became my friend. We don't know each other like a long time ago, but he has treated me like a friend, so that's why I'm already calling him a friend. For this session of this episode of the Insight Talks, I have Javi the Artist. He's an artist from here, from Phoenix, but originally, just like me, he's from Puerto Rico. So we had that in common. So Javi, how are you?
How's it going, man?
Good seeing you.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks again for the invite and for coming here.
Of course.
To the studio. So yeah, just going a little bit. My name is Javi the Artist. Go with the name Javi. Born and raised in Puerto Rico. You know, since I was a kid, I always liked the music and the arts, in general. And, you're from Puerto Rico, so, it's always, crowd everywhere and party everywhere and cars in every wall. So
yeah, and it's a part of us. So
yeah, definitely. I always thought about, the arts inside of me. I knew there was something different from comparing the other friends of mine at that time. And my family, most of them are all musicians. So that's when I started, playing the guitar. And actually, I thought that I was gonna go to that route. I thought I was gonna be like, I'm gonna be now the musician of my family, and I'm gonna keep, those roots. But yeah, that's why I always start playing the guitar. And art was more like a self-taught. I never took classes in painting, but I was already into it and interested in learning how to paint.
Okay, got it. And we talked about that behind cameras, and it's impressive the background that you have. But I wanted to ask you, can you take us back to the beginning? Like, what was young Javi like growing up in Santurce?
Yeah, so I was born in Santurce, but I grew up in Bayamón, Puerto Rico. I started painting, I think, was in high school. I started with graffiti. That's the way I really start my drawings and all that. I was just trying to find my voice. I was not really just making a message or anything like that with my graffiti. It was more just about finding who I am. Actually, one of my tags was be yourself. So
okay.
That was pretty much what I was trying to do. And yeah, I started painting and drawing a lot in high school. Again, like I said, I had some friends. I remember in the mornings we always do sketches, and that's when one of my teachers at that time told me to go to this museum in Puerto Rico. There was an exhibition from Andy Warhol and Michael Basquiat.
Yeah, love it.
And that's when I started, getting really into the pop art. And I thought that was gonna be my style. But yeah, I started, mixing the graffiti and learning more about, history and arts and trying to find my voice. But it was kind of hard for me, because at the same time, I was doing so many things. I wanted to be a skateboarder, I wanted to be a volleyball player, I wanted to be a musician, I wanted to be an artist. It was so many things, so I never liked to focus in one thing. I just wanted to do everything at once. But yeah, and also, I was a little bit scared, because people always telling you like, if you're gonna do art as a living, you're gonna be living in a van down by the river kind of thing. So,
that's how it goes back home, yeah.
Yeah, so everyone judges you, of course people want to support me, but not like, maybe more like a hobby. Like,
okay,
don't do that as professional,
Okay.
Do something else, be a lawyer or be a doctor or something like that. And I always felt I was different, the way like society tells what's normal. I felt different. I knew like I was not gonna be, wearing a suit and holding a briefcase and walking into a building. That was not me. I always knew I was different, meaning like I was going more to the arts.
Okay, I feel like that's always typical of people that are into arts, that they kind of like their parents try to have them do a 9 to 5 job, and when they do it, they immediately know this is not for me. I feel like people with those type of skills for art, music, they have a different way of seeing things, and they're not used to being in a job that it's 9 to 5. It's different for them, so I understand that. So, and what basically brought you to the graffiti, to that type of medium? How did you start?
Yeah, so I had a lot of friends that were in the graffiti community, and that's when I started learning how to, make some letters and play with the shadows and light on the letters. And that's like, again, I was just self-taught, so that's the only way I was able to learn. But that time I was skateboarding as well, so there was a lot of skateboarders that also do graffiti. So that was like my way to actually learn how to draw and, make some art. And I don't know, by that time, it was kind of like everyone wanted to be a graffiti artist,
Yeah.
It was a booming, it was booming. It was a boom that all of a sudden everyone wanted to do tags and everything. And for me, it was just more like it was an easy way to find out free lessons, to how to draw and start from there. But yeah, after that, I started doing more, I started getting better. I started feeling more support from my friends and family. So I started doing more like signs for small businesses. I started doing some murals for, kids' rooms and stuff like that. And that's when I saw that I had maybe something going on there, But again, I was just focusing on music because I thought that was gonna be my real path, thinking about my family, they're all guitar players. So I thought, okay, I'm gonna be a guitar player too. So
cool.
So yeah, for me it was more like music was more the way I can express my feelings. Painting was more, by that time, just trying to find a voice and learn and see, I was just interested in that. But because I didn't know how to do very well, I was just always leaning on music more than arts, and
Okay. I was gonna ask you, do you have any background like in your family in the arts or in music?
So yeah, music, my father, all my uncles from my father's side, my grandparents from my father's side, from my mom's side as well, they're all really good musicians. And I think, I have the brother of one of my grandmother from my mom's side. He's also an artist. He paints, and my great-grandfather, he was a writer.
Okay.
So, the arts was all around me, so it's in the blood,
Yeah, no, I get it. Especially for us both growing up in Puerto Rico. In Puerto Rico, there's a lot of music, there's a lot of art. So we definitely, it's part of our culture. So I respect that. I know you had a guitar in one hand and a spray can in another. What did those two tools represent for you back then?
So yeah, again, the music was the way I can express my feelings and the way I can talk emotionally. And the graffiti, the paintings, it was more like a way to find a voice and find who I was really am, So yeah, both they were at the same time. But for some reason, I always felt like the spray can was going to evolve. I was going to develop something else with that. So I would always keep an eye on that part. And I really enjoy it. Like when I play music, it feels, natural, but when I paint it, feels more like me, it was more like
so you flow
more
better
freedom.
with
Yeah,
art.
I feel more freedom.
Okay.
I feel like the music was more like I was holding people behind me, my family, my culture, and it was like, okay, I have to do this because it is what it is,
Okay. And I wanted to ask you, so for graffiti, was it more of like just grabbing a spray can and starting making art, or did you have a message through your art in graffiti?
So yeah, not really. I was not really in politics or anything like that. I was not really making any messages. It was just a way to express in a different way than music and just trying to find who I am. That's why I was using the tag of be yourself. So I used to tag Nesquan, that was like my graffiti nickname, and my tag was always like be yourself. So it was just pretty much whatever I feel it was cool, trying to play with colors. Again, it was like my lessons. I was just still learning how to draw and how to paint. So
it was more experimenting.
Yeah, it was more experimenting and see, again, I knew by taking this, first steps of drawing and being into that, playing with colors, it was gonna evolve for something else, which I always wanted to be a painter since I learned about Andy Warhol and all these guys and Van Gogh. I remember I did a replica of Van Gogh's sketch in my room, and that was kind of cool. It's a mural that I did in my room at
Okay.
that time. And then I remember my mom sold that house, and the new owner of that house, told her like, please don't, don't repaint
kept it?
Yeah, he kept it
Oh,
with the whole
that's really
mural.
cool.
So that's kind of cool. So again, I always had that feeling that support and people accepting my art, and that's always stuck in my head.
Got it. That's really cool. So how did your community and peers react to your art as a teenager? What was the reaction?
Yeah, I mean, most of the time it was always positive. I never had no one telling me like, you have to stop doing that, like you suck or something like that. Yeah, no, I always felt the support for sure. It was just more me, like accepting myself, should I really do this? And again, just cared about living in a van down by the river, and society always blocks you, like they feel like if you want to be an artist, it's more like lottery, like that's the way they sell it, right? Like it's impossible,
Yeah.
And it's not, you just have to really focus and just keep pushing and just listen to your inner voice. And that's the thing.
Exactly.
I was not able to listen to myself anymore because I was just focusing on what should I do right, and I remember when I was younger in high school, I had a conversation with my mom, and I would sit down, and she was like, you're all over the place, like you want to do everything. You want to be a soccer player, you want to be a graffiti artist, you want to be a musician, and that's okay, but you have to choose, you're gonna turn now 20 or 21, I don't know. And she told me like, you have to choose what's gonna be your hobby and what's gonna be the thing that you want to do for a living.
Make a decision.
Yeah. So and it was kind of nice because that way I can break everything down and decided what I really want to do. And I always wanted to paint. That was like my favorite one. So that's why I leave that at the end. So I honestly choose all of them. So I did everything that I wanted to do. Even the clothing line, I did a clothing line after my graffitis and all that. I always wanted to do my own, t-shirt designing and all that kind of stuff. So I actually did that, and I might still do it later on. But right now I'm holding off because I'm focusing more on the on paintings.
Okay.
But yeah, it was kind of nice to have that conversation with my mom because that way I can clear my mind. And I was still young, and I'm happy I didn't choose to be a painter by that time because I was not really mature enough. I know if someone tells me like, you suck or something like that, I'd probably give up automatically and stop this and do something else. So
I think coming back to what you said about what our parents tell us about when we say, hey, I want to do arts. They're like, oh no, you're gonna, starve to death if you do arts. I think we need to, this is my opinion, I think that we need to change that mindset to, you have to do whatever makes you happy. I get it that I know that parents are concerned about us maybe doing a type of work that maybe is not gonna give us a good paycheck to support our family, but at the same time, I think in life you have to follow what you love and do what you love, and that's the message at least I give to my kids. Because you can have a fancy job, but if you don't love it, then you're gonna be miserable. So for me, in my opinion, I think we have to shift that message that we're sending to our kids. And I get it. I think it's something generational because my dad and mom were the same. But now I feel it's different with the web and the internet and all the apps that we have. I think being an artist, it's not easier, but it's better. There's more ways of us spreading our work. Do you agree on that?
Yeah, I mean, again, I'm from an island, so it's a very small place, and it's really hard to follow your dreams. Just because
I get it.
I have to face it. I really struggle. And it was hard times when I was in in college. It was really hard. So for me, to pay my bills, it was hard to just follow your dreams. It was like pretty far out, and again, limiting myself with the society and all that, it was hard. So, and I understand why it's so difficult. Now that I'm doing it, I was not prepared like mentally to really make that work. And I'm gonna follow my dreams and that's it. I don't care about the rest. It's hard because you really think about, you want to have a family, you want to have your own place, you want to have, money to pay your bills and to even for, buy whatever you want to buy, and it was just hard, So, anything you want to do in life, like whatever is your dream, is hard, especially when you have, tough moments,
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I think we're all been through that. But I think you have a cool story. It's hard to do arts and be consistent, because right now life is just going too fast, and with all the different apps and all of that, everything's just going so fast. So it's hard to satisfy people with art. So I commend you on that. You're doing a great job. I've seen your paintings.
Thank you.
And I also follow Javi in Instagram, and he's always painting. He's always doing his medium that he loves. And for me, I think that's a lovely story. So with that said, what were the most important lessons you learned while studying design and graphic arts?
So before that, I started studying actually music in Interamericana Coupe.
Okay.
So that was like my major degree I was working on that time. But then, I started playing with acrylic paint, and coming with the background of graffiti, spray cans, when you do your sketches and you do your paintings, they dry fast. So I was trying using to acrylic because it was similar, just using a brush. And then, again, I was struggling, at that time, and I saw that I was able to, trade my paintings with like doctor's appointment for a subscription when I was sick. I even traded one of my paintings for a bicycle so I can have transportation to go to the university, and
that's interesting.
That's when I saw that, there was more connection on that, and more opportunities. I saw more like a value more than just, making art. And that's when I started, thinking about switching from major degree in music to study arts and design. And that's how everything, changed.
Kind of like click. Yeah. And how was your background in music influence your painting style and rhythm today?
Every time I paint, I always have my background music. I always, follow the rhythm. That's comes from Puerto Rico, of course. I need always music for anything, for clean the house. For anything, I always need to have music. I have my speaker, like my JBL speaker. I have it with me all the time, and anywhere I go, I always have it with me. So, for sure, always listen to the music, and also helps me to when I'm doing, like, for example, this series of the bandana with the cowboys. It helps me to find that, like, visualize that character that I'm working on, and just send me to that wave, and helps me a lot to be more creative and use my imagination with the music.
Totally get it. I need music for everything, and I don't know, this is something I want to share with you. I don't know if it happens to you. For me, if I'm upset, if I'm sad or anything, what I love to do is just go driving and put music on. For me, it just resets my mind, and it's my therapy. Yeah. So I don't know if that happens to you too.
Absolutely, yeah, for sure. Yeah, that's the way you create your mood. So if I'm trying to, paint something more aggressive, then I go with more like rock, It all depends on what I'm working, what type of piece I'm working on the moment, and that's when I decide to choose what type of music I would like to hear.
Okay. So now, I know that you started in Puerto Rico, but you decided to move to Arizona. So I have a question on that. Moving from Puerto Rico to Fountain Hills, Arizona is a big change, right? Mm-hmm. So what were those early days like an artist in a new landscape?
Yeah, so it was a shift, right? Coming from Puerto Rico, it's all crowded and parties everywhere, and music and all that, and very colorful. And then coming to Arizona, this open land, it's all, quiet, silence, and so open, and the way the light hits is different. Like all the wildlife, like the cactuses, like it just, I don't know. I'm pretty spiritual, I really believe in energy. So I feel like when I move here, I feel like something going on, and we are Tainos, so we have our Native Caribbeans blood. So I feel like maybe something here with the Native Americans, and all the history that has here in Arizona and the Southwest, was like that puzzle that was missing.
Exactly.
And then when I moved here, I had my first commission. It was a Western.
Sorry to interrupt you. How did that feel, getting your first commission?
It felt kind of interesting again because since I was a kid, again since graffiti started, I had inside of my head like I might be an artist someday. I don't know, maybe. So moving here and then all of a sudden, boom, first commission and going back to the arts, it was just crazy because again, I studied art and design, but it was more focusing on graphic design, not actually painting with the brush and everything. So having that first commission, it was kind of cool. I remember when I finished that first, it was a Western theme. I really enjoyed doing it, and that's when I feel like the connection, like this is what I really want to paint, and that same time I met one of my mom's friends. His name is Brian Mefford, and by that time he was working on the Scottsdale Western Art Museum.
Okay.
And he was the one who really showed me like the story about all this Southwest and all the Western artists, and show me artwork from Maynard Dixon. He's like a big influence in the Western art, because I only knew about Billy Shank because again I was more in the pop art. I knew Andy Warhol and that kind of stuff, more on the East, artists from the East Coast, and Puerto Rico, of course. So the only one that I really knew was Billy Shank, is because it's very similar. They call him it's like the pop art of the West. But I never knew that much from the history of West, right? I'm from the island of the Caribbean, so I'm pretty far out there. But yeah, he was the one who really actually showed me all the history and all this artwork and all these guys these days right now, like Logan Maxwell, like Mark Maggiore, Amory Bowling. There's so many, Glenn Dean. There's a lot of good guys right now out there, and it just gave me like that vibe of I wanted to paint this. I started getting more into it, do more research, and he helped me a lot to actually be where I am right now.
Perfect.
Finally find my my voice. Still working on that, but yeah.
And then meeting or transitioning over to the American West art style, was it a coincidence, or was it something that you already were seeing or visioning since Puerto Rico?
So yeah, I don't know. Again, it's just weird because in Puerto Rico we have horses, a lot of cowboys too there.
And we do have so the people know, we do have a small desert in Puerto Rico called Guanica. So we do have desert.
Yeah, so exactly. And one of my favorite movies when I was a kid, it was Toy Story. So, it's like that cowboy, the sheriff and all that. So like, without noticing it, I always had influence of the desert and the Southwest and the American West, but I never thought I was gonna be painting, Western artwork. So it's kind of crazy, but again, I just gotta love. It's something that you feel inside of you, And again, going back to the my inner voice, trying to find what I really want to do, what really feels that emotion, Because in Puerto Rico it was hard, Puerto Rico is very small. Again, everyone I felt like we were doing the same thing. I couldn't find my voice. I was just like, what should I paint? Should I do a cat? Should I paint a wave? The beach? Like I don't know what to do. But since I moved here, again, it's just like the land, and it's crazy. There's so much energy here.
Yeah.
Especially when you go to Sedona, it's just
it's just beautiful.
It's different.
You can feel that energy from Sedona.
It's different.
Yeah. So how did the American West begin to shape your art?
So I think it's just it's a mix. I still have my roots from Puerto Rico, and now moving here to Arizona, I feel it's like a blend, right? So, yeah, I feel like it's just everything. That's how I can find my original style, I'll say, with the colors that I use. And again, it's just like I didn't even notice it until I'm working on it. Like right now, like this bandana is very colorful. Like Puerto Rico is so much flowers and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So maybe that's the way I can combine things together. And again, I was using at that time, the beginning, I was using more acrylic paint. Now I'm doing more oil painting. I feel that helped me to slow down. Because again, I'm going with the background of graffiti, so everything dries fast. Now with the oil, I have some time to do more layers and think about what I'm working on. I can do more different effects when I'm painting and get more freedom of what I'm trying to do. And now with the baby, it's hard. I can be mixing my colors, and then all of a sudden, I need to go and change the diaper. So by the time I come back, it's already dried. So now with the oils is way better,
How much time do you have with the oils?
How much time?
How much time, before it dries?
It all depends, It depends on the medium that you're using, It depends of the oils that you use,
Okay. Depending on the.
Yeah.
Okay.
But if you have enough mix, it'll stay, I don't know, a week, maybe more. It all depends, You can put it in the fridge so it stays cold and it won't dry.
Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I always had that question. How much time do you have from like painting? Do you have to be in a hurry? Because art, you have to take time with art. So that's why I ask. So now, you now live in Phoenix with your wife and your daughter. How does fatherhood and family life influence your creative process?
I mean, a lot, you know, like there are the ones that are remembering me while I'm doing this, you know, like I really wanted to be a role model for my daughter, you know. I wanted her to see that her dad, you know, I following my dreams and I never give up, you know. So that way when she grows up, she can, you know, take me as a lesson and she can just follow her dreams, you know.
Of course. And I think it's important that your daughter sees her father doing what he loves, and you know,
100%.
Because if she sees that when she, you know, grows up and wants to be a professional, then she has that example to use for her. So I think that's really important. I was going to ask you, do you still take on projects for Puerto Rico? How do you stay connected to your roots from afar?
Yeah, so not at the moment, because right now I'm focusing more on the, you know, on my new series, and again, trying to find my voice. I still feel that I'm not there yet, you know, it's gonna take me more time. But yeah, right now, I mean, you know, I have connections with them. I have friends in the island right now, and people that, you know, moved from Puerto Rico, but they're also Puerto Ricans, and they're also in the arts. So yeah, I have some connections, but right now, at the moment, I'm not really looking for it. Yeah.
Okay, cool. Yeah, there's a he was a kid at the time I was in Puerto Rico that I follow, that I love his art. It's Andres Cortez. I don't know if you've seen him. He basically drew the flag in the pool in La Perla.
Oh yeah.
You've probably seen him. I remember him doing art in Santurce, and then he was a kid. He was like 15, 16 years old.
Yeah.
And I do have a picture of him. I'll put it on our interview so people can see it. But that's one person that I've seen him a lot active in Instagram, putting his paintings. So, but again, like he said, it's just difficult in the island. The island is so small. When there's a lot of artists, it kind of like, you know, you feel secluded. So, and that's why I think a lot of us just jump from the island to the States, so we can grow more. So that's basically our 2 cents.
Yeah.
So going back to the medium oils, you transition from acrylics to oils. What drew you to oil painting, and how would you describe your style now?
So yeah, again, I changed because first of all, the colors, you know, stay brighter than when the acrylic paints dry. That's something that I was looking for, because I'm really into the colors and the shadows and the light. So I feel like with the oil painting, helped me to slow down again. You know, it dries takes more time to dry.
Okay.
So I can, you know, play with it more, and I can, you know, step back, see my piece, how it's going, and then I can go back at it without losing the mix that I already did. You know.
Okay.
Yeah, it's just different. I don't know. I just got in love with it. You know. It's fun to play with the oil paintings, and I feel it's more accurate. My ideas that I have in my head, when I put them on the canvas, it shows better. Now that I'm trying to do more like more realism. Before I was doing more abstract. So with the acrylic, you know, I didn't mind if it dries, because it was more, you know.
Oh, got it.
It was just like a bunch of layers of mixed colors. So.
Okay. Yeah, I was gonna ask you, is it more because of the color in each one? Do the colors are different in each one when you finish painting? That's
and also I didn't mind. Actually, it was better, because when the color dries, I can do another layer on top of it without mixing the color what's behind it. So, but yeah, I just like the oil for now. It's fun.
Cool. Cool. Really cool. Okay, so now I want to know how do you start a painting, and what I mean by that is, where do you create the idea? Is it an idea that you get while like doing something and I'm like, oh, I gotta go paint? Or is it more you sit down and start thinking of ideas?
Yeah, so everything started with feeling. You know, I need to feel something. So it could be, you know, a portrait, it could be a wildlife animal, you know, it could be a bison, it could be a cowboy, whatever it is. I need to have a feeling. You know, if I feel like that, like wow feeling, you know, it's like when I start feeling like I want to paint that, is when I start going from that route. So yeah, I mean, I take pictures, a lot of pictures when I go out. My head is always thinking, you know, working is just weird. But yeah, I just started doing like collages. So I like to have like different images, combine them in one, and then on top of that, I have my iPad, so I do like layers, sketches on top of it, and I can start removing stuff. I also use my Photoshop. I play with it too. So yeah, it's a long process until I decide what I'm gonna paint. It's not like I'm just gonna do a sketch and I'm gonna do this, see how it goes. I need to really feel it, because that's the way I can express my art, by emotions, and that's all my pieces are. It's pretty much reflecting my emotionally how I feel that moment.
Okay. And correct me if I'm wrong, but if I understood correctly, your creative thoughts come in different ways. You can see, let's see, you're in Sedona, you see a mountain, and you take a visual picture of it, and then you maybe create, you have an idea to create a sketch. Another way could be maybe that you're listening to music or doing something and you receive an idea. That's
happens too. Yeah.
Okay, cool. And that's really cool. The first one, because here there's so many landscapes. People here in Arizona, there's so many mountains, beautiful mountains to draw. So I think you're in the perfect place of the type of art you're doing.
Yeah. And usually, maybe at the middle of my process of my paintings is when I start giving more meaning to it, because again, I have the feeling, I love what I'm doing, I like that angle, whatever it was, and then maybe at the middle of my piece that I'm almost finishing it, that's when I step back and look at it, and I start seeing myself in it, So everything's very symbolical, because I'm not a cowboy, but the way I do my paintings is more like where I am at the moment, and again, emotionally, or my journey is going,
Okay, so when you go back, for example, when you see one of your old paintings and you see it, do you get do you feel that emotion that you were feeling at that time when you painted the painting?
Yeah, absolutely. Like right now, I have one of my paintings right now is exhibiting in downtown Phoenix, Portland Park. That one's Desert Muse Awakens. It's a cowgirl with the cactus in the back behind her, and her eyes are the same color of the cactus, and it's just like the music coming. Like I told you, like I felt the energy, the connection with the land, telling me like my inner voice telling me like this is what you have to paint. So it's a cowgirl, but it's me, me looking at the horizon and the getting that energy from the desert, telling me like this is what you have to do.
Okay.
And every time I see that piece, I love that piece because I have memories behind it.
Okay.
Also remembers when my wife was pregnant with Gia.
Okay.
I have,
so it's special.
Yeah. So every piece that I do, I always try to do my best to be my last one. I want to be the best I can. Every piece I do.
Okay.
So, but yeah, everything I see, I never regret any of my paintings. Not yet. But yeah, one time I remember everything,
Okay.
I see it's just like music, when you sing, when you hear a song and you could send you back to, memories,
Okay.
Angry if you, I don't know, if you break up or whatever it was,
Yeah, going through that sadness.
Yeah. So same thing happens with the paintings with me.
Okay. I know you said that you take a lot of time to finish your paintings and all of that, but with that said, did you have one that ever make you feel like, it's good, but it's not one of my favorite? Do you have one of those paintings?
Yeah, I mean, that's always gonna happen. Always happens. After you finish it, you're like...
In every type of art, right?
Yeah. And that's the other thing. Like, when I finish my paintings, I need to sign it and put it out of the way, because if not, I want to keep adding and adding and adding. So I never... the pieces are never finished, you can always keep adding more stuff. It's just when you feel like it's done, it's done. Sometimes I do paintings that I was gonna do one more layer of colors, maybe in the chest or in the clothing or something, and then that day I just felt like it looks good the way it looks, it's just done. So whatever you feel inside of you is when like it's complete.
Okay. I remember something. I was a few years ago. I was seeing a interview of Luis Fonsi. It's a musician from Puerto Rico. He was talking about Despacito. You probably guys know about Despacito as being a global phenomenon. And he was saying that he recorded him first, then Daddy Yankee. and he created the song, but he kept adding and adding until the producer told him, "No, you have to stop. It sounds good."
Yeah.
And it's funny how you also said like, "Hey, sometimes you have to catch yourself and you have to stop because
Yeah.
it's good the way it is. If not, you can, damage it, or maybe it won't have the same feeling."
Yeah.
So that's interesting. So, and then what themes or emotion are you most drawn to expressing through your work?
That's a good one. So, again, when I was playing guitar, and I still play guitar, but when I was like really into the music, I always liked the sadness, like sad chords, like minor chords. Not because I'm always sad, it's just because for me it's more emotional. There's
Okay.
more emotions than when you're happy. You're happy. When you're sad, there's more to express.
Kind of like Stain, Stain.
Yeah.
I love his song, but they were pretty. They seem sad.
Yeah. So I don't know. And again, I'm not sad at all. It's just like the way I can really. I'm very emotional too, so I feel like the best way I can really describe how I feel is by using sad songs and sadness, and I don't know, it's just weird. But I'm not really sad,
No, and I get it. I guess sometimes we have different feelings and we adjust to the feeling we're having. If you're happy, you're happy. Sometimes you do have those sad moments, but it's because you're remembering something that it's you hold in your heart. So it's okay.
Yeah.
I think it happens to everyone. I was going to ask you, has art ever served as a form of therapy or healing for you?
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, this is my me time, when I'm painting, it's my me time, there's nobody around me, and I did once live painting, actually twice, but I don't really enjoy it, I don't like to be people staring at me when I'm working, I like to be by my own, and do my thing, and be really focused on what I'm working on.
Okay.
So yeah, it was at the beginning. It was hard when Gia, my daughter, was 1 month old, 2 months old. I had to wait at night, to be able to paint. So I was waiting until like 10 p.m. Yeah, it was like at 10 p.m. I changed her diaper, and then I stay awake until the next day, and then be a zombie for the rest of the day. Because that's the only time I have my me time and be able to move and keep painting to get to. My journey and my goals, my dream.
Perfect.
Yeah.
That's beautiful. Have you ever been creating one of your paintings and you have felt something that you can describe, like a feeling or something while you're painting? Does that ever happen to you?
Yeah, I mean,
it could be any feeling.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. When I was younger, I used to play guitar, and that's the only way I was able to express my feelings. But when sometimes I couldn't say a word, how I could describe in words or in sound, that's when I started painting. And that's why I wanted to, get that drive of what I want to learn to paint, because sometimes there's some moments that there's nothing you can say or hear. It's just about visualizing it, and that's what made me, painting is a different language. It's crazy. And that's why I like the sadness part, because when you're sad and you make a painting with more, not have to be sad, but I feel it has more power, when it's like more like it could be the light hitting the face of the woman, it could be her eyes, maybe she's not crying, but the way you see the eyes are maybe some sadness in there, and it gives you like more human feel,
Okay, that's what I wanted to know. Like while you're painting, you're like, damn, like you have something hits you and you connect with that painting.
Yeah.
Because I know I've seen you in Instagram, and there was a painting. Was it the cowboy? That you were like, I don't want to let it go. I don't want to let it go.
Yeah.
There was a specific. Can you explain that?
Yeah. So that was the new generation. That was a commission I did for Brian Manford, that I was telling you, my kind of my mentor. So yeah, that one, it was really special because that was my first commission in oil paint, because I always paint acrylic.
Okay.
So I pushed, and I really pushed myself to do that one. I really want to, challenge myself.
Okay.
And I want to do that in oil. But again, that piece is a woman, holding, it's more like a Native American, symbolically my wife.
That's the one.
Yeah,
That's the
holding
one.
my
Yeah.
daughter, and behind her is a fox, looking at the horizon, like protecting them. So I'm kind of like the fox behind them, protecting my family. And then you see like the whole, open land. And actually that fox that I did, because he's very fan of Mayor Dixon, that original fox that I did on that piece is a Maynard Dixon fox.
Okay.
So yeah, I just do a replica.
That's really cool.
Fox, yeah.
Did you draw first or painted first the lady or the fox?
I did the fox first. I did landscape, the sky first, and then at the end I finished her because she has like a blanket. The pattern that I used on that blanket is a rug that he has in his house. So that was like the only rule he gave me for that commission. So yeah, and again, it was my first time using oils, so it took me some time to get it done, so I just tackled that for the last because I know it's gonna take me some time because there's so many wrinkles and a lot of shadow and light going on. So I need to know how to blend the colors so I can actually, pop that effect that I was looking for.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, got it.
And then when I finish it, and put that gold frame, make more Western look, it was just like I wanted to keep it, honestly.
I get it. I get it. Yeah, and I remember going through your Instagram, and you were like, "Oh, I remember this painting, having an emotional feeling with it." So that's why I wanted to ask. So yeah, but I mean, I get it. Everyone connects with something, and I guess for you, you had a connection with that. So, and I wanted to ask you, is each painting different? Meaning, for example, do you think of, okay, I'm gonna do a series of people first, and then when I do I'm gonna do 5 paintings for that series, and let's call it this name. And then on my next series, I'm gonna have landscapes. Is that your style, or is it more you get the idea and you do the painting, and each painting is different?
So yeah, right now I'm working on this new series. It's my first time I'm doing a series actually. With these cowboys with the same pattern or colors from the bananas. But yeah, no, I just followed my feelings, the way I feel that day, and that's when I feel like I want to paint. Believe me, there's so many things I want to paint, but I don't have the time. But also, I don't want it to mislead. I want to keep the same focus and the same subject matter. That way, when you go out there and see a piece, like, oh yeah, that's a Javi piece. It's gonna be easy to recognize my work. But yeah, I mean, I don't really think about, I'm gonna do this new list and then this other list. Not like before, like when I had my clothing line, I knew like for summer I'm gonna use these colors, for winter I'm gonna use these colors. I don't have the same mindset because it's not marketing, it's more art. So it's just the way I feel that day. Maybe next year I might be more into the blue color, so I might be doing some blue shades and different stuff. I don't know. So
okay.
Yeah, it's just the way how I feel. And then again, after I get that mood, I start trying to see if I can match them with the other pieces that I have.
Okay.
So my core is always my feel, the way I feel, my mood. Yeah.
Okay. 1 feeling per day, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so I was going to ask you, how do you balance your Puerto Rican identity with the influence of the American West in your current pieces?
So yeah, I think it's a blend of both. Now that I moved here to Arizona, and I finally find that puzzle that was missing for my to find a journey and a path to become an artist. I feel I have from both. Like I have from Puerto Rico, like the colors. I feel like the red. I love the red. It's a very bright color. And with the West, I use all these purples colors and like the sand color, like the rocks and stones. Like it's more like brownish colors, so I just mix those two together and they match, it's the red and the brown, so they look good together. But yeah.
Okay, perfect. So what does success look like for you today as an artist, as a father, and a creative?
I'm sorry, say that one more time?
Yeah. What does success look like for you today as an artist, a father, and a creative?
Yeah, I mean, for me, success is more like, not giving up, like showing up every day and be able to keep following my goals, my dreams. For me, that's success, and be able to, be there for my wife and my daughter, and at the same time do what I really love doing. For me, that's pretty much what success means for me.
Cool. What's one message you hope people take away when they look at your art?
I feel like it's just more about, it's okay to struggle, it's okay to be in the middle of your journey. You have to know everything, it's just part of, we're humans, so we're always learning, so it's always going to be something new in your life, either good or bad, So that's pretty much how I express in my paintings, it could be doing cowboy series. I can do something about just a landscape, and that could mean whatever the way you feel. Because I don't really like to, not that I don't like, but I don't really have to express or explain my pieces, my paintings, because everyone have a different
Perspective.
Yeah. Right? So yeah.
I was gonna tell you, art is imperfect at the end of the day.
Yeah. For me, it means something. For you, it may mean something different.
Exactly. Yeah. So for young artists, especially those navigating identity, struggle, or fear, what advice do you give to them?
I feel it's man, listen to your inner voice and become your best friend, pretty much.
Yeah.
That's the only thing you can really find that drive and and keep going. And you don't have to be ready to start. Just start with what you have, and yeah.
Got it. As an artist, how do you stay grounded and present, especially when juggling family, creative work, and daily responsibilities? That's tough.
Yeah, it's tough. Yeah, I mean, it's always thinking why I started. I usually think about my daughter. She's my my fuel. Yeah, that's pretty much it. It's just trying to be always focused. And sometimes when I start struggling, I like to maybe clean my room, clean the studio, go for a walk, or go for a road trip. That way I can clear out my mind and then come back at it.
You got it. I feel like also like organizing, cleaning, especially when you're struggling with ideas or anything, I feel that it clears your path to do new things.
Yeah, for
So
sure.
I totally get it. Are there any mindfulness practices, routines, or habits that help you stay inspired or overcome creative blocks?
Yeah, I like to read. Even though when I was younger, I didn't read at all. And now,
Me
now,
neither.
now I learn to read, and it's been very helpful. I do some workouts. I like to do some workouts. That way, I can relieve the stress and all that. Walk around, spend time with my family. Especially on the weekends. So now I always try to not paint on the weekends. That way I can really enjoy the time
The
with them.
weekend with your family.
Yeah. And then that way I can also give some time for me to clear my mind. If I'm working on something that maybe got stuck,
Okay.
I can, decharge and go back at it next day. Yeah.
Okay. And how, basically, I just wanted for you to explain it so people understand that you need to do certain things to have a balance in life. And how do you achieve that balance? By doing what?
Yeah, it's just being consistent, have a routine, try it, even though it's hard. With a kid, as a baby girl, it's hard to have a routine. But yeah, I just try to just always stay focused and, again, listen to my inner voice and remembering why I'm doing this. And, right now I'm on my mid-30s, so it's now or never, and that's what really gives me the drive to keep going.
Okay. And have you ever, I know all of us have, but have you ever in the art and all of that and different mediums, have you ever had that self-doubt or fear about people not liking your art?
Back then, yeah, but not anymore. Because again, I finally was able to find, what I really want to do for a living. And it's different. I feel now I'm more mature, so when I do art, it's because it's what I really want to do, not like what people might like. Because that it will be not art; it will be more like merchandise. It will more be like a product, right? And for me, it's just about what I like to do in that moment, that situation. Because right now, it's impossible to do something that everyone will love. It's hard.
Yeah, it's impossible.
It's impossible. So it's better to just do whatever you want to do. And also, when you start doing that way, like what people might like, then you're working. You're not really doing what you really want to do. That's another job.
Of course. And did you have like for saying, let's say, before you had fear of that, and then one day you're like, I don't care, I'm gonna do my art, and that's what I love. Did you ever had a day that that switch? You had a switch in your mind?
Yeah, I mean, again, it's always gonna be in your thoughts, right?
Always.
Always gonna be there. I mean, now, especially now that we have this much social media and technology, like even like, negative comments will stay in your head, and it's really hard to forget about it and keep going, without trying to ignore it. But again, now that I'm mature, I feel like I have that hard skin. I can really avoid those negative comments, and I can just keep going. And not like I really receive like bad comments, but people talk in your back, so, and like people are judging all the time. So I know it was hard for me to really forget about the rest and just do whatever you want to do. It's hard, but now it's just like thinking about my wife, my daughter, and my journey, and whatever you want to do is when I feel the drive to keep going.
Of course. And I feel also that when we become parents, your mindset completely changes. Because now you have to take care of another human, and you want to give them your best as a father. So I agree with you on that. So could you share one piece of motivational advice with someone afraid to pursue their creative path? What would it be?
Again, just, keep pushing, listen to your inner voice, it's just hard, man. You just have to just go for it, just do it, you have to just go and do it. That's pretty much I can say about it. It's hard too, like, everyone's different, so everyone have different ways to express or to even do things, so for me, the only thing we're very common in everyone is just yourself, having your inner voice and, your spiritual being. So yeah, that's all I can say. Okay, cool. So that's all for today. Javi, before we go, you have a painting in Phoenix, you said, in the art Yep. You can just go to my Instagram, Javi the Artist. You can see all the things there. I'm gonna be posting every week or so. And my website is javitheartist.com. Just get to my mail list, and I'll be putting all my information. Of course. There.
So there you go, people. And follow Javi. Javi's a great artist. I actually met Javi here in Arizona. I was starting this podcast, and basically I saw him and I sent a message, and I'm like, hey, my name is Alejandro. I'm also from Puerto Rico, and that's how we connected. And I want to thank you for opening the doors of your house to me, because I'm a stranger. I know we met before doing this, but still I'm a stranger to him. So I want to thank him for that. And people just go to his Instagram and follow him. I'll add the Instagram in the screen. Again, this is Alejandro with the Insightful Presence. We're here with Javi. This is our first interview, but we will keep doing more interviews. I will also probably have something in the future with Javi. We'll connect some more and do more projects. So Javi, thank you very much for your time. And I wish you the best. I love your art, and I think you're gonna go far. Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thank you for seeing us. Please subscribe.